was. And a key way of doing that is to talk about the Notre Dame. Construction began in the 12th century. And if you were there, if you were one of the designers and constructors, you knew that you would not be alive to see its completion. It took 2 centuries to complete, or at least the first so-called completion of the Notre Dame. And that was the norm. If you were a castle builder in medieval times, your grandfather started, you built something, and your son might get to live there. When we innovate, we do so, there's a famous quote, if I've seen further it's because I stood upon the shoulders of others, we innovate on top of the available information. If we were to put a measure on the amount of technical information that we could innovate from at year 0, and call that X, X would double to the 15th century. It would quadruple 2 centuries after that, and you know the rest, 8, 16, 32, 64. I do not know what the number would be today, but what I do know is that the amount of technical information in our world is currently doubling every 6 or 24 months, depending on whom you ask. That gives rise to graphs like this. This is actually a double exponentialist from Ray Kurzweil. It describes the amount of computational power $1,000 buys you. Up until now, we've just taken for granted, okay, computing is getting cheaper. Interesting, my computer will get smaller. If we project, and us futurists love to project, this double exponential 3 decades ahead, $1,000 will buy you the computational equivalent of all human brains alive together. That's going to be an interesting computer. Mobiles will have the same power a few years after. If you're a futurist, what you do is that you view the world and its rate of development as exponentials instead of linear development. As humans, we're hardwired to think linearly. Like when doing the Notre Dame. You did not see the exponential. Development was just going ahead as it always had been. But if you do look at the exponentials, you're not surprised at the take-up of mobile data traffic. Of course not. You're not surprised that when there is an open platform with low enough barriers to entry, you'd see a lot of third-party applications getting developed. A futurist would look at the difference in rate, however. So comparing to software platforms on mobile, the rate of development increase is currently higher on one than the other, which Sony Ericsson likes. So I claim that we can describe the industry I'm working in as development over time. That's easy. And let's say that not everyone, of course we all are, but not everyone is a futurist yet. So we work along a sort of linear progression. When will that hit us? When will we get into problems? A curve like this has a knee, sometimes called inflection point. It would not be mathematically correct, but let's disregard that. The knee of the curve is when it starts to hurt. A company going along with linear development will suddenly realize that we're left behind. Another company might already have overtaken, or you're at least early enough in your vision so that you see that we need to react. And I think a lot of the development happening today, when people say, oh, there's a new world, it's open, people are doing things without needing to be employed by big companies, they are reacting once. They're at this rate of development and they're going to continue linearly. And that will fail again. Now I'm talking about an industry here, and that's a bit difficult. Because I'm not sure what the industry looks like. Now, I'm from a mobile manufacturer, so this would be the industry. The big five, and when we've all seen these names. But you all know that I'm lying currently, because that's not the industry. There are a few new players, and they seem to be on a different rate of development, perhaps. But even this would not be true. I don't even know if there's such a thing as a mobile industry any longer. I do not think there is. What I think has happened is that there was once a computing industry. We call it the PC industry. Creating grey boxes that we put into a separate room at home, or we put them in the office at work. And there was a mobile telephone industry, which you could use to make voice calls and text, and even in the US they've discovered texting. There's a new mobile industry, however, which has taken the hardware, the really hard to develop, nicely put together small hardware from the old phone industry, and the software from the PC industry, and our partners Google has helped us here, and created a new mobile industry. I like to call them mobile devices, but Intel was the first to use that name, and not everyone likes it. Now, if the industry changed like this, if there's a new mobile industry that doesn't look like the old one, that means that we need to talk to new people that we haven't talked to before, like this guy, whom I'm sure you all recognize. Maybe it helps if I do this. I'm talking about Richard Stallman. Now that's a man with a vision and who's on a mission. And what he realized was, and we all know as software developers, you can't develop software that fits the perfect use case for each and every user. It's impossible. You need to develop for the lowest common denominator. And Richard said that you've done nice software, I like your software, I want to use your software. If I could just change this small, tiny part, I would be much happier. But since you're giving me a binary, you're not giving me access to the source code, you're not giving me access to change, I cannot. So he set out to start the Free Software Foundation, creator of the GPL open source license, etc., etc. This was a few decades ago, and he's still working on it. We need to talk to people like Tim O'Reilly, founder of O'Reilly Publishing, the very successful Web to the Dough conferences, and actually the coiner of the term Web to the Dough. Tim had a vision, and he's on a mission. And that is, if I give you information, if I give you data, if I register with your website, don't lock me in. If I've done all that, make sure I can extract that data, put it somewhere else, create a mashup, make something bigger of the single parts. He's on a mission of giving me access, not locking me in. We need to talk to these guys. I'm talking about the Pirate Party. They're not about stealing music. They're about a mission of don't lock me out. Make sure that when I bought this song, don't tell me I can't take it off this CD and put it on my mobile. They're making sure that if you collect data about me, let me know how that data is going to be used. All these three together are on a mission of openness.